Hello students, today we will discuss about compare and contrast the character of Thompson and Eustacia. Okay. Both Thompson and Eustacia come from good families. Thompson is portrayed as a contrast to Eustacia. The only point of resemblance between the two is that both are in love and both suffer. The parents of both the women are dead. They are brought up and looked after by other relatives. Eustacia is brought up by her grandfather, while Thompson lives under the care of Mrs. Evride, her aunt. Both the women are beautiful. Eustacia's beauty makes her fit to be an ideal goddess, but less fit to be an ideal woman. Thompson's beauty has the groundwork of hopefulness in it, while Eustacia's charms have some forbidding of tragedy. According to Wilde, Thompson is a pleasing and innocent woman. According to Wilde, Thompson is a pleasing and innocent woman. Ben says she is a nice-looking girl. Eustacia's beauty of imposing kind. She is the raw material of her divinity and has pagan eyes full of nocturnal mysteries. Eustacia is vain, rebellious, and ambitious. Thompson has mildness, respect for convention, and a pitiable nature. Eustacia fails to keep her husband at home, but Eustacia charms everybody. She attracts Wilde towards her and later on killing. Wilde's infatuations for her continues even after her marriage with Glenn. Even child who is very much inferior to her and afraid of her is also attracted towards her and delighted in holding her hand in his hand. Eustacia is impulsive in love, while Thompson is natural and practical in her approach to life's problems. Eustacia is a victim of her whim, but Thompson's leading qualities firmness and consistency. Next, Thompson is constant in love, but Eustacia lacks consistency. Thompson loves Wilde and she is firm in her determination of marrying him, and in the end, she succeeds in her mission. Eustacia at first loved Wilde because there was no better man on earth. But as soon as she hears of Clem's return from Paris, she shifts her love and loyalty to Clem. Again, when Clem falls on evil days, she feels attracted towards Wilde. Eustacia considers Heath her cross. She fails to adjust herself with its environment. Thompson prudently and successfully seeks a compromise with life. Both are faithful wives. Thompson is aware of her husband's infatuation for Eustacia, but she remains faithful to him in spite of the fact that when continues to help her whenever there is an occasion to do so. Similarly, Wilde continues to keep his emotional interest in Eustacia. She never condescends to do any favor to him. She establishes no illicit relationship with him. Eustacia suffers for her weakness and ultimately meets her tragic end, which lands her a tragic grandeur. Thompson is reward for her good qualities. She never reveals to more life according to her heart desire. Seeks and finds happiness in compromise with life. The rebellious Eustacia finds the way to death. The compromising Thompson finds a way to life. Thompson Evrite is one of the three important female characters in the novel The Return of the Native, the other two being Eustacia Y and Mrs. Evrite. She has been portrayed as a foil to Eustacia, the heroine of the novel. Thompson was brought upon the Eton Hill, so lives with her aunt Mrs. Evrite. She has beauty of a subdued glowing blood color. A fair, sweet country face with freshness and the bloom of youth, but less striking that Eustacia she has grace and she is praised highly for her prettiness. According to a turf cutter too, she is pretty. Maid Hardy describes her beauty in the following words. In the movements in her grace, Eustacia Y is the memorable heroine of The Return to the Native. She is the most impressive character in the novel. She is the main attraction in the novel. Her influence on the other characters of the novel is immense. Killiam and Wildlife both are in love with her. Even Charlie is her silent admirer and feels great pleasure in holding her hand in his hand. It is said Obscure Bridehead is the subtlest of Hardy's female characters. Eustacia has the deepest force. It has been suggested that Eustacia belongs essentially to the class of which Madame Bovary is the type. The similarities between Emma and Eustacia are indeed clear enough. The tragedy of each of them consists in the which really brings forth their romantic dreams of a happiness unconnected with reality, but this, after all, is no uncommon theme. It is as frequently met within literature as in life, and there is no need to seek in Flaubert for an explanation of Hardy's choice of it. The aim of the two novelists is in fact quite different. We find the detailed descriptions of Eustacia's personality in chapter 7th of book 1st of Return of the Native. She was in person full-limbed and somewhat heavy, without readiness and without pallor, and soft to the touch as a cloud. To see her hair was no fancy that the whole winter did not contain darkness enough to form its shadow. It closed over her forehead like nightfall, the western gloom. Her nerves extended into those tresses, and her temper could always be softened by stroking them down. When her hair was brushed, she would instantly sink into stillness and look like the Sphinx. If in passing under one of Eton vents, any of its thick skins were caught, as they sometimes were, by a prickly tuft of the large Europeans. Eustacia comes from the family of Woodmouth, a fashionable seaside resort at the date. Her father was a bedmaster and a fine musician. He married the daughter of Captain Y against his wish. He adopted his wife's name and made England permanently his home. He took great trouble with his child's education, for he was not able to meet the expense of his daughter. She was educated at the expense of his grandfather. From the maternal side, the daughter inherited many of the qualities of her father. After her father's death, she was looked after and brought up by her grandfather at Woodmouth. She led a gay and pleasant life. She saw gallant soldiers, music, dance, lovemaking, and pleasures of all kinds there. This defined her love for pleasure. Her education did not develop her intellectual More of a spiritual nature, she read about Napoleon and had great admiration for him. She wanted to rule over hearts like a queen. Contrary to her wish, she had to live at Eton, which he hated very much. In Heidi's opinion, Eustace is the raw material of her divinity. On Olympus, she would have done well with a little preparation. She has presence and instincts which make a model goddess, that is those which make not quite a model woman. She has a dignity which is rarely found in women of her class. Perhaps this dignity is the gift of heaven. Heidi calls her the Queen of Night. Seldom does she make plans about her life and future, but when she does so, her plans shows rather the comprehensive strategy of a general than the small arts called womanization. In heaven, she would perhaps be seated between the Helois, the Cleopatras. Eustace is a mildly neurotic hedonist, as Hardy say. As far as social ethics were concerned, Eustacia approached the savage state. Though in emotion she was all the while an epicure. The mouth seemed formed less to speak than to quiver, less to quiver than to kiss. So fine were the lines of her lips that, though full, each corner of her mouth was peculiarly but cut as the point of a spear. This keenness of corner was only blunted when she was given over to sudden fits of gloom. One of the pieces of nightside of sentiment which she knew too well for her years. Okay.